Welcome to the Michael Blum Show, where we talk about things you don't want to talk about. We talk about sex. We talk about politics. We talk spirituality and substance abuse. Join us by calling 800-699-0980. Think, speak, and be heard. Here now is Michael Blum. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Michael Blum Show. I am trying a whole bunch of new stuff out here. We do have a guest tonight. I hope everyone kind of is listening to us. We're doing something on Twitter today because I am also doing something new, which is kind of like a Twitter feed. I used to broadcast actually by using separate devices, and I could actually see comments. And sometimes they get confusing, actually, if you're kind of concentrating on one thing. But there is something on this software that will allow me to do that now. And so I'm just curious how that all will work, you know. If you are on Twitter and you're watching me either through Twitter or through Periscope, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment or so, and I'll see if those actually propagate on the system here as to what we're talking about. Again, the Twitter handle here is at michaelblumshow.com. It's actually no .com in Twitter. I'm sorry. It's at Michael Blum Show, MICHAELBLUM show. And we look forward to maybe seeing some of the comments that you might have out there. The show today was called is called Apocalypse Jour, and Are You Happy? And it's said in the Old Testament basically that someone who is happy is someone who is happy with their lot. And basically what that means, I think, is that if you're not a happy person to begin with, if you don't have some ingrained thing in you that makes you happy, then you're never going to be, because what it is that you own is not going to make you happy. Our guest today, who we're going to go to the guest pretty quickly, is Jonathan Robinson. And we're going to go ahead and we'll get him on the phone, and we will talk to him and see what we can do here in terms of talking about happiness. So let's go ahead, see what we can do here. If we can get him going, it will be fine. And there he is. Let's see, we're going to call on the home line, and hopefully he'll be there. Everything will be good. You never know. This is kind of a live stream, so that's how it goes. But let's go ahead and we'll get him. And if he picks up, we're in good shape. Then we'll talk about the apocalypse du jour, which is a little bit more political, maybe after we're done with Jonathan. Hello?
Hi, this is Jonathan. Hello there.
Hey, how you doing, Jonathan?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to the Michael Blum Show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. This will be fun.
Yeah, I think it should be. Now, I actually called this, we usually do a lot of politics. I can give you a little bit of background on the show. Originally, the show was actually to help people out, so we would talk about sexual issues and substance abuse and things like that. Then recently I've started to get just more into politics because I don't have a team working for me at the moment, and it's very uncomfortable talking about sex by yourself. You just sound like a pervert, you know. So you need to have someone to bounce things off of. So I'm always currently right now trying to look to see if there's someone who wants to join me. We can go ahead and do things as a semi-permanent or permanent, co-host or something like that. But anyway, that's kind of the background on the show. So it's unusual for us now to really talk about things other than politics, and we'll get to that later because, to be quite frank, recently politics just bores the crap out of me, and it's a pain in the butt. So anyway, in the Old Testament, it says that he who is happy with his lot.
Mm.
How do you feel about that statement?
Well, I agree in that, if you want to be happy, root for how it is actually going, because when you fight with reality, you lose, but just 100% of the time.
It's funny because, in a way, how I looked at that was basically, if you don't have it inside of yourself to be happy, it's not going to happen. And as I look at some of the things on your website, it seems to be that you would have a different philosophy. And by the way, folks, I know I'm skipping ahead here because I've been looking at Jonathan's picture for a couple of weeks. And basically, he's an author. Finding Happiness is the name of the website, or is that your recent book?
Finding Happiness is the name of the website, and my recent book is called More Love, Less Conflict.
More love, less conflict. Do you think that that's harder to achieve nowadays with everything that's going on in the world, or is it easier, or is it the
I think
same?
it's harder. People are stressed, and their methods of communication are things that tend to be superficial. Texting and email and Facebook. 1,000 Facebook friends doesn't really equal one really good friend. So I think people really yearn for a deep connection, but they don't necessarily have the ways to do that quickly and effectively in today's fast-paced world.
It gets kind of crazy because I was eating at a restaurant recently, and there was a young family next to me, like two kids, maybe teenagers, a little bit under teenagers, and the parents, and everyone is sitting there on a device. No one is
Yeah.
talking to each other, and there's no back and forth of comments or anything really going on of any note between these people. And I'm old school in that, to me, social media in my day and age was called going outside. And
Yeah.
that was, that was social media. There really was nothing else to it. It was just that, hey, you go out, you meet people, you greet people, and that's how it all goes. And I really do think a lot of people are losing out with that. And as people become more into their devices, and they kind of look for they look for someone, it seems to me, to tell them, oh, yes, you are happy now, because they don't have enough experiences to know when that's actually occurring to them.
Yeah, what people really want is deep connection. They want love, they want intimacy, they want inner peace. But a lot of things in the world now really take us away from that. So I think people have to discover the new tools or the new technologies that can get there, because if you don't have that in your life, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, I guess I don't consider myself to be an intensely happy person. Um, I'm not sure if that's by nature, but I tend to worry about stuff, and it's difficult for me to live in the here and now, right now, here in the present, and that's probably one of the keys to actually being happy, I would imagine. Um, so,
Well, the biggest key, actually, in real estate, they say location, location, location.
uh huh.
In the happiness research, they say relationships, relationships, relationships. So you could have everything in your life not going well, not having money, not even having good health. But if your relationships are going well, you'll tend to be happy. So I tend to focus people on how they can quickly improve their relationships so they're more loving and less conflictual.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I really, you have to forgive me. I know you're a psychotherapist,
Yeah,
so I guess I'm looking for some analysis in
sure.
some way, because throughout my life, I've always felt that friends were a burden. And
Uh-huh.
I always was very disappointed in friends when I was a kid, as a
Yeah.
child. And so basically, um, now I'm 63. I really don't have any friends at all. There's
Hmm.
no one I really talk to on an ongoing basis other than my wife and my kids, and
Hmm.
that's pretty much it. Now I'm not proud of that. I'm not stating that as being proud, but from what you're telling me, you think that could be part of the factor where I'm not really happy a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a big loneliness epidemic nowadays in America. It's a huge problem, and with loneliness, you get depression and the whole thing, and drug abuse sometimes. So, I teach people, if you don't know how to do something, it's hard. Once you know how to do something, it's easy. Like a stick shift. If you've never done that, it's like, how do you do this? It's so complicated. But once you know it, you can do it with your eyes closed. It's not a problem. So I teach people the easiest methods. Methods are so easy that anybody can do them. And they find that, oh, well, now that I know how human beings work and how friendship works, I can do this and it's fun. It's not hard. And, I was a very depressed, lonely kid. So that's why I kind of got into this in the first place, is because I had no friends. And I said, there must be somebody who knows how to do this. It wasn't me. I started reading books and taking courses, and that's why I teach it now, because it's something you can actually learn in a couple hours, or one book, and when you do, it really makes you feel much more powerful, because now you can make friends wherever you go, and it's really actually pretty simple if you know the right methods.
Can you divulge some of those methods? I mean, let's say you're dealing with someone like me. Basically, I'm not an unhappy person, but I'm not a joyously happy person either. Very, very limited contact with people out of my realm, and I actually don't even feel bad that that's the case. I'm not depressed over my situation or my decision not to have many friends. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's either I've come to live with it, which is kind of a terrible way of looking at it, or I'm missing those ganglia in the brain that would really, say, gee, you need some friends. You need to go ahead and speak to some other people. So,
Yeah. Well, let's try a couple methods. And, I have 40 of them in the More Love, Less Conflict book, and they all take under a minute. So they're pretty simple. But let's do one right now.
okay.
It's a fill in the blank statement. I'll do it and then you can do it. And that is, and you have to answer this honestly. The fill in the blank statement is something I notice about you that I appreciate is. Now, we've only known each other 10 minutes, but there's already several things that I'm thinking in my head. I don't have to make it up. It's what I'm already thinking. It's just that normally I wouldn't say it. So this gives me an opportunity to say it. And uh, what I notice about you, Michael, that I appreciate is that you're very honest and you're just yourself. And that's really nice in somebody in this position because some people put on a big act and they say whatever they say, but you're actually quite approachable, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much. I don't know you well enough at all. I would have more of a hard time figuring out something about you. Other than I think obviously you care about people. I don't think you'd be doing what you did if you really didn't have a high level of love in your heart to go ahead and help people.
Yeah, and well, I like to think so at least. But you know, um, part of answering that question is not necessarily making a big thing. Like, uh, I noticed that you were on time and you didn't forget the interview. You can appreciate that, for example. It doesn't need to be something major.
Uh huh.
Every day I say an appreciation to my wife. Now I get caught up in stuff, so I actually have Siri on my iPhone remind me. Don't tell my wife this, Michael,
Yeah.
because she thinks it just comes up spontaneously. But um, every day I do that, and she just feels very loved. Well, I just happen to have a very simple method that takes a minute a day, and it leads to more love. And when she feels loved by me, guess what happens? She's more loving towards me.
Sure.
So that's a pretty simple method, and the best predictor of how happy a couple is the number of appreciations they give to each other. So it's not rocket science. Anybody could fill in that sentence. Hey, I noticed that you did the dishes, and I really appreciate that you did that without me having to ask you. That's not hard, but it's little things like that that make big differences in friendships and relationships.
It's odd. When I make coffee in the morning, I wake up before my wife, and I usually get out of the house and I'm at work before my wife. So when I get up in the morning and I make coffee, even though she's not there, I always take a glass down for her and
Uh
I
huh.
leave it on the counter because I want her to know that I thought about her.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So I'd like her to feel, that I thought, and my relationship, I have a really good marriage. I'm married over 35 years and happily so. Best thing I ever did. And, and I feel that people sometimes don't realize that they are loved when they are. And there's some people who just feel that they're never loved. And everyone needs to know that they are by somebody to some extent.
Yeah, they do, and but what you goes around comes around. So if you're expressing your love and appreciation, or if you're communicating in a way that people really like, then it will come back to you. And these are like magical powers. Look at somebody like Oprah, who was poor, never lived in a place that even had a bathroom, was in the retarded people's class in school, was raped twice by the time she was 14, ended up becoming the most loved person on the planet. And I asked her when one of the times I was on her show, how'd that happen? And she said, it's all about if you can show people that you care about them and that you understand them, you can rise to the top in any field because there's so few people doing that that you won't have much competition and you'll look like a saint. And I agree that little tools in communication that show that you understand, that you're curious, that you appreciate people, that you're willing to work through conflict, that almost gives you like a superpower.
Yeah, I know it's tough to do sometimes. I had one relative in my past who I thought had a miserable life. She was one of the happiest people I knew. Always happy, always talkative, always with it. She lost one child when he was 5 years old. Her husband went blind from diabetes. Her mother became an invalid and was horrifically sick, and it was like going into a hospital room. Yet this cousin of mine was probably one of the happiest people I ever knew.
Yeah, happiness doesn't depend on how things go.
Hmm.
It depends on how much you connect with people mostly. It doesn't depend even on how much money you have, according to the research. So when people, luckily you have a great marriage. That probably makes a huge emotional difference in your life.
Oh, it
So
does.
you're doing something right. And the good news is that if you learn a few simple key things, all your relationships go better. People like you more, and when they like you more, it feels good.
Sure, and it's odd because I do seem to other people to be immediately likable.
Mhm.
That's why I think I'm successful in what I do.
Mhm.
However, I don't do it from the basis of love. Sometimes I do it from the basis of I don't really give a damn. Um, do you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
another individual. Live your life. I'm thrilled. Go ahead. Do whatever you want to do. As long as you're not affecting me in a negative fashion, I don't really care. I don't care
Right.
about it. I don't care about it. I don't care about you really. I don't care about what's going on. As long as you can relate to me when we need to in a good way, then I'm thrilled with you, and I'm happy for everybody. Everyone I meet, my assumption is that they're a great person, that they're knowledgeable, that they're smart, and then they speak, and
Yeah.
that's that could be the big change sometimes.
Uh-huh. You know, one of the things people do wrong that gets in their way is they often blame people. And blame, I never once when you might be different, but never once when I blamed my wife for something and told her how wrong she is, did she respond by saying, "Oh yeah, I see that now. Thank you for showing me the errors of my ways. I'll have to change." That doesn't happen,
Not too
you
often, huh?
know. So one of the things I try and teach people to do is how to speak without blame and complain and shame, because that closes off communication. It closes off the love that we want, and how instead to communicate in a way that gets people to really like you and trust you very quickly. And if that's happening, if your wife is feeling great about you, Michael, you're probably feeling pretty good yourself.
Well, I feel good. I don't want you to get me wrong. I don't. I'm not morbid and walking around like in a depressed state here.
Uh huh.
But I see some people. Maybe I'm judging myself against others, which I tend to do. My biggest enemy in my life is me. I tend to be the worst critic. I'm the one who tends to
Mhm.
get onto my own back, and a lot of it's because I really don't care what other people think.
Mhm.
Again, it goes back into that care. I mean, I care about what some people think, but very few. Like I said, my
Mhm.
wife and some family members. Otherwise, you can go suck an egg. I don't really care what you think about me.
Uh
Um,
huh.
you know, but I'm not. I don't walk around in a depressed fashion or anything like that. But sometimes I just feel that I should be more jubilant about what's happening and really realize all the goodness in your life. As compared to the hardships that people always have.
Yeah, well, that points to another aspect of happiness and good relationships, and that is the power of gratitude. And funny story. I had a friend who went to India, and he said he'd heard this magical mantra that the guru gave him to help him feel more grateful for his wife and family. And he said it really worked. It transformed the relationship. I said, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "You'll have to go there yourself." So I travel 18,000 miles to India. I finally get a chance to meet this guru, and I say, "What's this magical mantra to help people feel gratitude?" 'Cause I know that's so important in relationships and happiness. So he leans in to whisper into my ear, and he says in an Indian accent, "Whenever possible, repeat these words. The mantra I give you are the words, thank you." And I look at him and I say, "That's it?"
Uh-huh.
And he says, "No, that's it is the mantra you have been using. That makes you feel like you never have enough. I'm saying you should say thank you, not that's it. That's it will take you nowhere."
That's pretty funny. Traveled the world
So
for
I
that.
do that. When I see my wife, when I see my dogs, my friends, etc., I silently say thank you. I feel my gratitude towards them. It makes me feel really good that we have that connection, and things go good.
That's funny because I say thank you after sex all the time.
Yeah, well,
You
okay.
forgot, so maybe that's a start.
It's a good start.
It's the good start, I guess. So, how did you get involved with all of this? I know, I'm looking at your web page, and you're, like I said, you've been an author of like 10 books,
Yeah, 12
profession,
now.
12 now. Okay,
Yeah.
um, master's degree, and is it family counseling also? MFT? I'm not sure what that one.
Marriage and family therapist. Yeah. The way I got into all of it was I was blessed to have a totally miserable childhood.
Oh, okay.
Lots of violence, lots of heartache, and so I kind of had my midlife crisis around age 12.
Okay.
And I decided, to get out of this depression and anxiety, I would read self-help books. And so I got into self-help really early. I started meditating really early. And I saw that, maybe 90% of it's crap. But every now and then I'd come across something that was so incredibly useful that I'd immediately use it. And then, I would collect these useful methods or useful ideas. And eventually that's what my books became, a compendium of all the most useful stuff I'd ever found.
That's cool.
And then I wrote books, and Oprah liked my book, so I got on her show a bunch.
Wow, has to be a really big boost to your ego and to just your career, I would imagine. Um,
It certainly helped.
I've never been invited on Oprah's show, so
Uh,
sadly I don't know what that's about. Um, but you have. So tell us a little bit more about that. Is Oprah for real? Is she a genuine item? When you talk to her, you feel pretty much that this is how she is, and there's not she's not putting on a show. It's the Oprah Winfrey show, but she's not putting on one.
yeah, what makes her so wonderful is when you're talking to her, you feel like she totally gets you and that she really understands you. So in my More Love, Less Conflict book, I talk about exactly how people who do that, how they do it. Because if you can do that, everybody loves you, because you're like giving people $100 bills, emotionally. So you definitely feel that with Oprah. And that's why she went from her very humble beginnings to the most loved person on earth, is that she said she called herself a reverse paranoid. She thinks people are out to do her good. And the reason why people like her and are out to do her good is because she's giving them what they most want, which is empathy and understanding.
Yeah, and but actually, what she projects is what she gets, which is
Yeah, exactly.
is interesting. It's funny. I remember attending a lecture. I was helping out actually in a lecture, and it was about soulmates, and mostly women in the class. And I want a man who's completely honest with me, that won't lie, that'll tell me the truth, that will just always go ahead and and let me know how they're feeling. And then the course director says, "Is that what you do when you meet a man? Are you that way with them?"
Hmm.
No, of course not. How could I do that? I don't even know him. And so basically, you kind of get what you put out in a way.
Yeah. If you look at the word intimacy, the instructions are somewhat in the word, into me see. If you're revealing stuff about yourself, you're going to create intimacy because that's the method. And so with a lot of the techniques in my latest book, they're like literally fill in the blanks to this sentence. Like if you really knew me, you would know blank. That's a way to reveal yourself. And when we are more vulnerable in that way, it helps to create connection. So I encourage people to to be honest in that way. But sometimes it helps to have a method that just kind of helps you over the hump to do it more frequently.
How do you handle people that have obvious like depression or they're chronically unhappy, but if you look at what's going on in their lives, they you would think they maybe have a good reason to be that way.
Hmm.
You probably will have an answer because you said you had a horrible, upbringing. I didn't. I was loved. I was everything that I was going to do was accepted and supported. Very very supportive parents. Um, but I did go through a period of time a couple of years ago, and it was very strange. Where basically my father started to lose his memory.
Uh
My
huh.
my brother got leukemia and died.
Mm.
This is in between me marrying off two children, and it was kind of like a manic thing for me because as thrilled as I was um, with my daughter's wedding, my brother died about 6 weeks after that, and my then was my son's wedding was coming up, and so he didn't attend that one. He wasn't there anymore. So
Hmm.
there's some people that have obvious turmoil in their life, and my folks are old, and I'm starting to get into that supportive role. Like I said,
Hmm.
my father didn't have much of a memory. He's 90 years old. My mother's 86. Um, and so I don't feel stressed out about it or anything like that, but I can spend my day, for instance, looking on how do you transport a corpse from one state to another because my folks don't want to
Yeah.
be, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's all maudlin kind of stuff, and to go through all that and to keep your mind steady and in the right place sometimes is difficult.
It is difficult, and that's why we need all the help we can get. When and you probably experience this, Michael. If you come home from a hard day at work, and your wife is like right there listening to you and supportive, and she cares and she's giving you empathy. She like gets you. Then your pain can more easily dissolve. You don't have to hold on to it. It just naturally dissipates. And that's a skill that people can learn. And when you have that skill, it's almost like you have a superpower because everybody appreciates that. And what you give to other people, they'll give back to you, and it helps to take the rough edges off of life. But unfortunately, most people don't know how to do that, so they can't do it for their partner. Their partner doesn't do it for them, and it's rough. Life is stressful. Relationships or love really shouldn't be.
Yeah, but like you said, life sometimes is stressful. So what would be some of the steps or some of the things you would recommend to someone who's going through just a horrible period?
Well, certainly, having friends around that care and can listen, that's one thing. Um, Focusing on the little things that you're grateful for. Like, Michael, do you have a toothache today?
I do not.
Me either. Have you ever had a toothache?
Yeah, actually I have.
It,
Yes.
it, it sucks, right?
Oh, it
It's
does.
no fun at all. Yeah. Well, neither of us have a toothache today. Hallelujah, because thank you that we don't have a toothache today, you
That
know?
that's so
Uh,
odd that you mentioned that for a couple of reasons. One is because by trade I'm a dentist,
uh-huh,
and this is something why my rabbi used to say all the time. The exact same thing.
uh-huh.
Well, are you happy you don't
Right.
have a toothache today? So
I tuned in. I'm channeling him.
I'm telling you, you're getting very very biblical here with me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Getting into it. So that's funny that you use that as an example. Um, but yeah, it's like the old adage. I was upset because I had no shoes, and then I met a man who had no feet.
Right, right.
So
And I actually use that little thank you technique. Like I might say, thank you that my dogs are healthy. Thank you that I'm able to talk to you about this stuff that I feel passionate about. Thank you that I'm in an air conditioned house right now because it's friggin' hot outside. You
you bet.
know, thank you that I have a nice view that I'm looking out. Little things because we can't always control the politics or the other stuff that might be challenging in our life, but we can be attentive to we have choice over food. Half the world doesn't have choice over their food. They eat whatever mushes in front of them. So um, if you can focus on those things, it will certainly take the edge off of the problems that we all have to deal with.
Do you have, and it's kind of a difficult question. Do you have, is there like a favorite book that you've written? Is there one that you feel stands out among the others, or are they all excellent?
Well, it's like, do you have a favorite child, Michael? No.
Yeah, well, I know, and sometimes I do, but they'll
And
never know that.
well, I've been talking about it a lot lately, so I'd say my latest book, More Love, Less Conflict, because I really tried to get the best. I've interviewed everybody from the late Mother Teresa to the Dalai Lama to Oprah to, Jimmy Carter. I'm always asking, what's your favorite communication technique that allowed you to be so successful? And so I basically stole all the best methods in the world and put them all in one book. And people, I think, really yearn for that connection now because there's so much polarization in the world that, where everybody's yelling and screaming at each other. But what we really want is love and connection. So if you can give somebody a tool that helps them to get there with their wife or their child or even themselves, I think that that's really valuable information.
Are there certain habits or things that you think bring on unhappiness and depression that people should be staying away from?
Well, of course, you could say dangerous drugs. Facebook, long periods on Facebook seems to make people depressed. A thousand Facebook friends does not equal one really good friend. Lots of TV use also. These are things that are part of our society, unfortunately. And the isolation, when people feel, you're lucky that you have a great marriage and kids that you love, but some people don't have that. And if you don't have some really good, tight connection with at least a couple people, that tends to lead to depression as well. So the tendency towards just staying home and watching TV alone and not putting yourself out there can be really detrimental.
So basically, you're saying experience something. Just get out of your shell, and go ahead and do something. Sit somewhere,
Yeah.
meet people or whatever, start a conversation. Um, it gets tough to do nowadays.
Yeah, even moving, one of the best ways to avoid depression is to actually get your body moving.
Sure, just get up. Your
Yep,
physiology because sometimes has a lot to do with it.
absolutely.
Stand up, you're moving around, and you're in relatively good shape. How do you feel about like Tony Robbins and that kind of stuff? NLP, familiar with it at all?
I'm very familiar. In fact, I'm even friends with Tony. Everybody has different things, like there's different types of music. If you said, do I like the Beatles? Well, yeah, I do, but the Beatles aren't for everybody. So part of Tony or my job is to give people tools that are so ridiculously simple and so ridiculously powerful that they'll actually use them. And I think Tony's good at that. He, never graduated high school. He's making $300,000 an hour, affecting millions of lives. I agree with 90% of what he says. I don't like 10% of what he says, but he's really affected a lot of people, and he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he has a lot of good tools as well.
All right, so there are ways and there are methods and ways to go ahead and get yourself up and going, which is nice. You have a large family, out of curiosity?
Yeah, a pretty large family, and everybody gets along with me because I learned how to communicate well, but they don't get along with each other.
Yeah, that was the next question is like, what's like the family dynamic? Because you have it together. You said you were brought up in an environment that really wasn't very happy. So I was curious how everyone else was handling it.
Yeah, they all hate each other and
Horrible.
and argue. But I'm like the family therapist where everybody will likes me, and so it doesn't affect me that much anymore. Whereas, of course, growing up, it was very, very difficult with all the yelling and screaming all the time.
Sure, it's sometimes I see people do things, and sometimes I hear people say things that are just absolutely horrific. And I mean, talking about their kids. I went out with a young lady at one point in time whose mother said, "I wish you were never born," and I almost died giving birth to a bitch like you. I mean, just stuff that I could never imagine in a million years. I would have to stab my mother with a knife. for her to say anything remotely close to that. But for some people, it just seems to just it flies off the tongue. It's like I don't know how people can get along with it. Maybe I'm too sensitive or oversensitive, or maybe you just can get used to anything. You can get used to like lying in the mud, I guess. Um, but it's always strange to me that there's some people that seem to have such an intense lack of, I don't know what the word would be. You'd know better. Lack of respect,
Compassion.
compassion, or yeah. I mean that they really they're living like in a bubble, and
Yeah. Well, they hurt, and when you feel really bad and when you hurt, you tend to say hurtful things. So it's really important. One of the best things you can do for your family. In fact, the best way you can help your kids to be happy is for you to be happy yourself.
hmm
The most efficient way for you to be happy yourself is to have really good communication with people, because that leads to more love and less conflict. So I encourage people, if you want to do nice things for your kids, for your friends, for your family, learn from a book. It could be mine or another book. 2 hours of how to communicate really effectively, because no other skill can you learn in a couple hours that will have so much effect on your life. I was a suicidally depressed teenager that couldn't talk. Now I get to talk to millions of people, and every day is a celebration. And not all of it, but a lot of it came from that I was able to make really good connections with people. And from those connections, I got happier, I learned stuff, and life became better.
did you imagine yourself doing this as a child? I mean, it has to be like really like the other end of the spectrum for you. I can't imagine you in like eighth grade or something like that going, gee, I think I'll go and become a therapist and help people.
No, because I was too screwed up myself. I never thought that I could help people. My actual motivation was trying to help myself, and out of desperation. What could keep me from killing myself this month? So, out of that motivation, I just found some things that worked, and realized once you find anything that works for you, then you have a friend for life, because it works. It could be meditation, it could be a communication method, it could be a gratitude method, but some things are literally take 10 seconds. How long does it take to feel your heart and say thank you that my legs are still here? Because I was in an auto accident a few years ago, and I could have lost my legs, but I didn't. Thank you that my legs are still here. That took 10 seconds. It's a good feeling. Little things do make a big difference, and I was definitely motivated by pain. And I think actually pain can be a very good motivator. It gets people to try new stuff.
To me, pain is the universal human language. Um,
Yeah.
I've heard it said that humor is like that, but I don't believe it. Okay, because English humor I may not get, some other forms of humor I may not get, but everyone understands someone who's hurting, and
Yeah.
and um, and I think that's, as a dentist, you can imagine that that's kind of I don't know, 70% of the people come to me because something all of a sudden is painful and hurts.
Yeah.
And once you get into that, if you can handle that or go to the right people, then I think you're in good shape. I'm getting a phone call. Let me see if it's something germane to what we're talking about. I'm going to just merge these for a second here. Okay. Hello, you're on the Michael Blum Show.
Hey, Dr. Blum.
Hi.
It's Nika.
Hey, Nika, how you doing? I'm doing a live broadcast of a show. You want to join it? We're talking about happiness.
Oh, no. Uh-uh.
No, so
Want me to come on the show?
you're on it now. We're talking now. You're actually being streamed live to Facebook, Twitter, Periscope, and YouTube.
Really?
Really, really, really.
All right, so what are we talking about now?
We're talking about happiness. I have a gentleman on the phone with me, Jonathan Robinson, who's actually a therapist in terms of happiness, and we're talking about
Okay.
what makes people happy, and what makes people not happy. Now, you seem to me to be basically a happy person.
Sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, but what makes me happy is being able to, the biggest thing is watching other people smile. That's what makes me happy.
So
Well,
when you,
you're a lucky woman, because that's pretty easy. If all you have to do is go around to a place where where kids are, and you'll see lots of smiles. But Michael, I like your question. What makes you happy, or what gives you a great sense of joy? And I actually have something called the 12 Questions of Instant Intimacy, and it's available at my website, morelovelessconflict.com, as a free download. And these are questions that you can ask anybody, and it tends to lead to instant intimacy. And so it's interesting that you stumbled across that question, because it's fun to talk about, like what gives you a special sense of love, or what makes you happy, what gives you joy. People love talking about that stuff, and it's a good way to connect with someone.
Yeah. Now, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know Nika really, really well. Nika is our office manager at the dental practice I'm at right now, and
Uh-huh.
she really has it together in terms of managing people. That I find her to be very, very honest, sometimes very blunt and to the point, which I love. By the way, my least favorite friends are the ones that are just nice to you all the time. You know what I mean? I don't get anything out of it sometimes. They're just always so
Yeah,
nice.
phoniness is never a good thing.
Yeah, so I like the few people that I actually call friends are very tough. They're tough folks. They won't let me go astray. If they see that I'm doing something they don't like, they can tell me that. Because they know
Hmm.
I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm not a moron. People have their impressions, and if you're dealing with people, that's part of the game. That's what you got to do.
Hmm.
So, Nika is a very special person. I know a little bit about her background, but not a heck of a lot. Do you want to talk to us about it at all, Nika?
A little bit about my background.
Yeah.
Well, as far as my personal or business.
Right now, we're talking personal more than business.
Okay. Well, like I said, I mean, I'm kind of a loner, believe it or not. I spend my time out and about trying to figure out how to, you know, uh, how to move up, pretty much. I'm from Atlanta, um, and that's really. I'm not. I don't have a lot going on. So I'm kind of like a boring person. Because if I'm not at work, then I'm at home sleeping.
Doesn't mean you're not a boring person at all. You're not a boring person at all. So, look, Nika, I imagine you called me not to go ahead and be placed on a live broadcast. Am I correct in that assumption?
I did. So I guess you could call me when you're done.
That's what I will do. I'll give you a call when I'm done, or a call at the break, and we'll talk more.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right, thanks for joining me. Well, that was pretty cool. I didn't expect that.
Yeah. And you just used a great communication method, Michael, and you don't even know it. And that was you checked out your assumption. You said, "I'm assuming this. Is that true?" No, not many people know to do that. That's a great little technique, because a lot of times our assumptions are wrong, and we don't know it because we haven't checked it out with somebody.
Yeah, well, I like checking things out because I think that's the only way you actually can go ahead and get on a tried and true path. If you're just guessing about stuff or you're not sure, you could be going down the wrong rabbit hole all the time. And and as a professional, it's tough to do. You really can't do that. You have to know what's going on. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
so it has to,
Hmm.
and it does. It has to make sense to you. Um, so, I, in conclusion, I'm just curious. Do you have any other plans for other books, or what else is going on in your life? And what would you like to tell the listeners to the show about yourself and anything else I might have missed?
Yeah, well, I'm always writing a book, so I'm always looking for better ways to do things, better ways to get to the peace and love inside of us, and so yeah, I'm still writing. But the More Love, Less Conflict book is doing extremely well, so I do a lot of interviews about that. So I get to spend a lot of my days talking about love and intimacy and connection, and that's a fun way to spend time.
I think so.
Get to meet people like you. Um, you know. I'm happily married, and I really enjoy spending time with my dogs, because dogs are like an embodiment of love. They just live to love their owners, and that's really sweet for me. So I'm learning a lot about love from my dogs.
Yeah, they're amazing creatures, aren't they? I mean, dogs. I
They
think
are.
I think they know a hell of a lot more than we think that they know.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've done. There's a lot of scientific studies now with dogs where they can actually smell cells dividing in your body.
Wow, wow.
So,
And dogs are very loving, and we're actually more of they're more of the masters. We they take us for a walk, or we feed them. We're cooking for them. So it's a wonderful relationship, and it's been a really learning experience for me to open my heart. And so my newest book is called Conversations with Dog. It's about a talking dog that teaches his master about how to love more.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So look, I've enjoyed the interview. If I may, can I invite you and have you come back in the near future?
Sure. Love to talk. And, for your listeners, if they want to like that free download of the 12 Questions of Instant Intimacy, that's at morelovelessconflict.com, and they can read the first chapter of the book and learn a little bit more if they're interested. And, the last piece of advice I would give is something I learned from the Dalai Lama. I said, what's your last piece of advice to give in an interview I had with him? And he said, the most important thing in life is kindness and love. And if you're moving in that direction, good things will happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure too, Michael. Have a great evening.
You too now. So, folks, that was, again, that's Jonathan Robinson, and you can look up more information about him on his website, which is called findinghappiness.com. Of all things, it makes a lot of sense. Findinghappiness.com. So, folks, I've been yakking here for about 45 minutes or longer, so I'm going to go ahead and just take a quick break, and then we will be back with more stuff in a couple of minutes. So, I'll speak to you then.
This is Steve Kane with Dr. Jonathan Cook from JJ Dental. Jonathan, I was just blown away by the reviews that your patients left online.
Yeah, sure. My website and Yelp, Google Places, Facebook, you name it. There's plenty of places to go to find 5-star reviews and read what our patients are saying about us.
You heard Dr. Cook. Go online, read his reviews. You'll be blown away too. And then call for an appointment, 954-463-7262, or online at jjdentalpractice.com.
Hi. At the Michael Blum Show, we talk about the things you don't want to talk about. If in your own personal life you have an experience or an event or something that's changed you, we'd love to hear about it and maybe get your story on air. Feel free to give us a call, 800-699-0980. Again, that's at 800-699-0980. Or feel free to email me at michael@blumradio.com. That's Michael, Michael, at blumradio, blumradio.com. And we will get in touch with you and put your story on the air.
This is Steve Kane, and I'm here with Dr. Jonathan Cook from JJ Dental. Jonathan, what are some of your most popular services that you perform over at JJ Dental?
Well, I would say cosmetic dentistry is number one. That's our major focus. But one of the beautiful things about our practice is there's nothing that we don't do under our roof. The days of patients bouncing around town to find different specialists are over, and there's nothing that we can't do at our office. So, we have specialists that come into our office to provide the patients with the proper services. So aside from cosmetic dentistry, we also have endodontics. We do root canals, implants, veneers, crowns, bridges, Invisalign. You name it, there's not much that we don't do.
For all your dental needs, call Dr. Jonathan Cook at JJ Dental. Phone number 954-463-7262. And online at jjdentalpractice.com.
Hi, this is Michael Blum. Join me on Tuesday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m. for The Michael Blum Show, where we talk about the things you don't want to talk about. We talk about sex. We talk about politics. We talk substance abuse and spirituality. So think, speak, and be heard. Call us at 800-699-0980 and join us on The Michael Blum Show. Hi, this is Dr. Michael Blum. I just moved my practice down the block to my new office at JJ Dental, just 4 blocks south of my old office. I chose JJ Dental because it's a 5-star rated practice. That's why you should choose them too. Call 954-463-7262 and ask for an appointment with me, Dr. Blum, or any other of the fine dentists at JJ Dental, creating beautiful, healthy smiles that last a lifetime. Call 954-463-7262 and visit us online at jjdentalpractice.com.
This is Steve Kane with Dr. Jonathan Cook from JJ Dental. Jonathan, I was just blown away by the reviews that your patients left online.
Yeah, sure. My website and Yelp, Google Places, Facebook, you name it. There's plenty of places to go to find 5-star reviews and read what our patients are saying about us.
You heard Dr. Cook. Go online, read his reviews. You'll be blown away too. And then call for an appointment, 954-463-7262 or online at jjdentalpractice.com.
Hi. At The Michael Blum Show, we talk about the things you don't want to talk about. If in your own personal life you have an experience or an event or something that's changed you, we'd love to hear about it and maybe get your story on air. Feel free to give us a call, 800-699-0980. Again, that's at 800-699-0980. Or feel free to email me at michael@blumradio.com. That's Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, at blumradio, B-L-U-M radio.com. And we will get in touch with you and put your story on the air.
This is Steve Kane, and I'm here with Dr. Jonathan Cook from JJ Dental. Jonathan, what are some of your most popular services that you perform over at JJ Dental?
Well, I would say cosmetic dentistry is number one. That's our major focus. But one of the beautiful things about our practice is there's nothing that we don't do under our roof. The days of patients bouncing around town to find different specialists are over, and there's nothing that we can't do at our office. So, we have specialists that come into our office to provide the patients with the proper services. So aside from cosmetic dentistry, we also have endodontics. We do root canals, implants, veneers, crowns, bridges, Invisalign. You name it, there's not much that we don't do.
For all your dental needs, call Dr. Jonathan Cook at JJ Dental. Phone number 954-463-7262. And online at jjdentalpractice.com.
Hi, this is Michael Blum. Join me on Tuesday evenings from 8 to 10 p.m. for The Michael Blum Show, where we talk about the things you don't want to talk about. We talk about sex. We talk about politics. We talk substance abuse and spirituality. So think, speak, and be heard. Call us at 800-699-0980 and join us on The Michael Blum Show. Hi, this is Dr. Michael Blum. I just moved my practice down the block to my new office at JJ Dental, just 4 blocks south of my old office. I chose JJ Dental because it's a 5-star rated practice. That's why you should choose them too. Call 954-463-7262 and ask for an appointment with me, Dr. Blum, or any other of the fine dentists at JJ Dental, creating beautiful, healthy smiles that last a lifetime. Call 954-463-7262 and visit us online at jjdentalpractice.com.
This is Steve Kane with Dr. Jonathan Cook from JJ Dental. Jonathan, I was just blown away by the reviews that your patients left online.
Yeah, sure. My website and Yelp, Google Places, Facebook, you name it. There's plenty of places to go to find 5-star reviews and read what our patients are saying about us.
You heard Dr. Cook. Go online, read his reviews. You'll be blown away too. And then call for an appointment, 954-463-7262 or online at jjdentalpractice.com.
Tune I wrote in the 70s called Freezer Fresh. Music is a wonderful thing, isn't it? It's really amazing. I love music. For those that don't know, my background is in music. I'm either considered to be rather eclectic or rather schizophrenic. I guess it depends on which way you want to look at things. But I have a background in music. I have a degree in education. So it's, like I said, eclectic or schizophrenic, depending on how you want to look at it. And that's pretty much it. That's it. So let's go ahead and continue now. We're going to be doing a little bit of our usual stuff. I called the show "Are You Happy?" and also it was called the Apocalypse de Jour. I get very, very bored, and I was very quite honest with our last guest, with Jonathan Robinson. About politics. You know, there is nothing more depressing, I think, today in today's day and age is to listening to the news. I mean, first of all, 90% of the news isn't news, okay? And basically, if you don't listen to the news, then you are not informed. But unfortunately, if you listen to the news, then you're just misinformed. And it runs the gamut all over the place. And, the other title for the show today is Apocalypse de Jour, because the world is going to end, you see, according to the liberals and the Democrats, every single week for some other reason. I mean, I start to lose track of them. I mean, well, right now it's that Trump didn't yell at Putin, go, you're a bad man. We hate you folks. We can't stand you. I mean, I don't know why you would think that would be it, but if you think that, that he was going there, Trump, to go ahead and raise his hands and yell and scream at you and point a finger in your face, I think you're missing the fact and the point. And that's how it is here with media in the United States, which is an anti-Trump media. And if Trump had done that, I don't think there would be more negatives involved with him yelling and screaming at Putin. A couple of things would happen. But there would be more yelling and screaming at Putin, and that wouldn't get to anywhere in anything. Now, what do we have in common? What do we want to do? Well, Russia is not the Soviet Union. So their military is not what it used to be, and lots of things in that country are not what they used to be. Putin is a nasty guy. He's a mean, nasty guy. I mean, there's no question about it. Former KGB. I mean, he's been looking into not only our elections for many, many years, but our educational system, all sorts of ways. Any way to go ahead and subvert is his way, So I think that Trump basically didn't want to shut any doors with this guy. And I think a public yell or scream at him would have also made the media wouldn't have been happy with that either. The media is never happy with anything Donald Trump will do because they can't be. That's their thing. That's their only stock in trade right now is hate. If it was some other president, trust me, this would not be happening. It's ridiculous, you know. I mean, do any people actually remember this video? I mean, this is kind of telling. This is a different president, but listen to this.
This is my last election. Yeah. After my election, I have more flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and understand what he
So, after my next election, I'll have more flexibility. I understand this. I will go ahead and transmit this message to Vlad. I stand with you. So, what do you think he meant? Give me a call if you'd like to talk about this, by the way. 800-699-0980. Again, 800-699-0980. What flexibility? The flexibility was, and very often if no one's going to call me up, I'll just answer the question anyway because the answers are very simple. He intended on removing more of our nuclear arsenal, which would make Putin very, very happy. So he wanted President Medvedev, who was, I think, an interim acting president there, to make sure that Vlad got the message that after he was elected for his second term, that Obama would be very, very, very open to and have much more flexibility in dealing with things in general. But I hear these people yelling and screaming about all sorts of nonsense. I swear to God, I think that if Trump developed the cure for cancer, what the media would say the next day is that Trump ruins medical practices in America. Doctors are now leaving the profession. If health, and that would be the thrust of it. It would have nothing to do with anything good because it cannot be. You see, he's a terrible individual. He hates people. He hates everybody. He hates women. He hates black people. I mean, forget about what's actually happening. This is just the BS of the left, and it's getting worse and worse because they have really nothing else going for them. I mean, I think they'll have a hard time electing anybody. That party really does need to change. But what do you think he meant? More flexibility, okay? All those people screaming that are so horrified about the Russians tapping into our voting system, and it's disgraceful, and they're going to go ahead and take votes away, and they're going to tip the scales. Are these people, do they give a shit about voter IDs? I mean, a voter ID would be something that, if you don't have it, you can't vote. I mean, that's kind of would solve the problem. No, no, they're not interested in solving problems. They're interested in getting rid of Trump. Because they're so hurt that their psychopathic, lying, horrible candidate and her serial rapist husband aren't in the White House right now. You'd think from how they're yelling and screaming about things that Trump gave up the nuclear codes for the United States, or, it's just something unbelievable. Now, Russia is a really, really bad country. I understand that. They're involved with a lot of stuff that's no good. They're murderous. But, we're pretty chummy with China, aren't we now? And that's probably the largest, most evil remaining communist country in the world. The only difference really between what Trump did and the media's reaction and what anyone else, any other president would have done, as long as they're Democrats, and their immediate reaction is basically the media just has a profound distaste for him, and they don't like him. So that's what goes on. So all of this crap is very, very predictable. I mean, last week it was Kavanaugh. I mean, suggesting or nominating a judge for the Supreme Court, and it was net neutrality. The world was going to end, and then when Trump just became president, that was the end of everything. He's going to screw up Korea, and people are going to get blown up. He's going to start World War III. You name it. These jerks have just gone on and on and on and on about nonsense and BS and falsehoods. I mean, that's just how they are. So it's pretty predictable to me that no matter what Trump is going to do, no matter what he is going to say, no matter someone is going to twist it in the leftist media and make it a horrific, horrible thing that we're all going to suffer from. He's going to kill the children. He's going to throw Granny off the cliff in a wheelchair. We'll all be starving. This is all bullshit and nonsense, and it's the political book of the left, basically. And let's face it. Most of the people who really like Trump, they don't expect political theater. They want a president to actually do something, and they want you can win one battle today and lose a couple tomorrow, whatever, and you can go ahead and take care of things. Now, the other thing is that the FBI has been so weaponized against Trump. Can you imagine if he said some of the things, actually said some of the things that the media was suggesting? If he was very strong about tampering with the elections, the media would come back and say, you see, Trump was colluding with the Russians. He certainly was. I mean, look at that. He mentioned it. He mentioned about the elections. Better off he did what he did. Better off for the good of the world, the country, and screw the politics with that. Because anything he would have said in denunciation of the Russian meddling would have been instantly, virally blasted around the universe as a confession that his election indeed was illegitimate. All the jerks would conflate everything. Basically, Trump wants people to realize that he won this election fair and square. And the reason he's there is because people in the United States want him to be there. That's the reason he's there. That's the reason he was elected, and that's the reason that everything kind of is going how it's going at the moment. But people seem to forget all sorts of stuff. I mean, we did have a past president who handled things differently. I mean, that was Obama, who, unfortunately, folks, I think is probably the worst president, certainly in my lifetime, if not forever. I just find him to be anti-white in his heart, self-serving, narcissistic, horrific with foreign policy, horrific with domestic policy. People love him because he's the first black elected official, and I understand that, and I think it's a great thing. I mean, people, I'm surely thought, as I did, if they voted for him, which I never did, but people have voted said, good, now we live in a post-racial United States. Well, that worked out pretty well now, didn't it? Such a great influence to everything there. And he handled things differently. So let's see how Obama, if you don't remember, this is how he handled the Russian situation, and which, by the way, Trump made a big deal about. And we'll talk about
in early September when I saw President Putin in China. I felt that the most effective way to ensure that didn't happen was to talk to him directly and tell him to cut it out. And there were going to be some serious consequences if he didn't.
And there you go. Cut it out. This is what you tell the leader of the KGB. Just cut it out. That's how I handle this problem with the elections. Just cut it out. I think he was also seriously thinking of canceling his Book of the Month Club. But I guess that would have been too harsh for him also. But, of course, Trump, that wouldn't make any difference what he does. It's the wrong thing no matter what. And, Trump, rightfully so, I think slammed Obama for doing nothing. I mean, if this is such a big deal, why didn't you do something about it? And again, this is a question I can throw out and give you the answer to. The reason nothing was done is because they were so in love with themselves and thought that they would win no matter what, that they didn't care that the election system was being potentially ruined or spied upon or hacked upon. I mean, they thought Hillary's going to win, so why should we make an issue about it? Then her presidency would be tainted. Oh, but wait. Let's get the FBI and high officials in the government involved with this, and we can turn that table around and make it germane to Donald Trump. We can ruin his election should that ever happen, which I doubt will ever be. He won in a landslide if you're looking at electoral votes. And the Electoral College, from what I understand, is skewed to the Democratic side. But it made no difference because when you run a horrific candidate that stands for nothing, says nothing, disappears, falls on her face, just lies outright, I mean, sometimes people don't like people like that. And God forbid if, as he would put it, crooked Hillary, if she won the election, forget it. It would be unbelievable. So all of a sudden, Trump gets elected, and now this becomes such a big deal, such a big deal. And as Trump tweeted, he said, when I won, it became a big deal, and the rigged witch hunt headed by Strzok began. So I'm just reading some of the quotes from some of the tweets from our president. Sir tweet a lot. Our relationship with Russia has never been worse, thanks to many years of U.S. foolishness, stupidity, and now the rigged witch hunt. Stories you heard about the 12 Russians yesterday took place during the Obama administration, not the Trump administration, Trump tweeted. They didn't do something about it, especially when it was reported that President Obama was informed by the FBI before the election. So again, why did it happen? Why wasn't anything done? Well, they never thought there would be any need to because Hillary was a shoo-in. Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, longtime liberal, voted for Hillary, said that the indictments of the Russians, which are not U.S. citizens, proves that there is no need for a special counsel. The indictment could have been brought by ordinary prosecutors, ordinary FBI agents, Dershowitz said. There's no conflict here. It's Russians they are going after. There's no people around the president who are involved. Zero. So, of course, you have the lying jerk, old bag Clinton, says, this is her tweet, great World Cup. Question for President Trump as he meets Putin. Do you know which team you play for? Like anyone with a half a brain would understand that the Democrats are so further tied into the socialist communist system than the Republicans ever would be. So do you know what team to play for? I mean, that's because she plays for the other team, you know? I mean, Hillary, I guess you forgot about Benghazi and Uranium One and sending secret information to other nations and having private email servers and losing laptops and all sorts of other stuff, So basically, it must suck to hijack your own party, steal a nomination, turn the DNC into like the money laundering machine it is, bury evidence against yourself, finance fake dossiers, swipe and steal debate questions, promise free everything, and still lose. And she loses to the person she feels is incompetent. What a joke. What a joke she is. And if you'd like to comment on it, feel differently about it, feel free to do so. Number again here is 800-699-0980. More than happy to take your calls and hear what you got to say. Let's go ahead and there's another video I got here, and this is our illustrious President Obama. Hear what he has to say.
Of course the elections will not be rigged. What does that mean? The federal government doesn't run the election process. States and cities and communities all across the country, they're the ones who set up the voting systems and the voting booths. And if Mr. Trump is suggesting that there is a conspiracy theory that is being propagated across the country,
Liar.
including in places like Texas, where typically it's not Democrats who are in charge of voting booths. That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, and I don't think anybody would take that seriously.
Unfortunate truth is that the election wasn't rigged. He's right in that respect, but certainly the primaries, the Democratic primaries were. And Bernie Sanders was never going to be a nominee because Clinton would never allow it to occur. I mean, he was popular, I mean, young people liked him, shockingly enough, Grandpa Bernie, but that's how it went. So you have basically now, you could ask another question about all this is a lot of the media think that what a traitor he is. He prefers to listen to what Putin has to say rather than his own FBI. Well, look at them. Look at the FBI. Look what's happened to them. It's the frickin' Bureau of Idiots, or the Federal Bureau of Matters, because we didn't investigate Clinton. It had to become a matter, and I mean, look at what they're doing. I mean, it's ridiculous. Suppose that, an acquaintance someone is part of an unsuccessful probe. The government's been trying to get them. The guy, but they haven't been able to really do anything. And the prosecutors would like you to go ahead and divulge something that's embarrassing. And you refuse, you know that no crimes were committed, you know nothing happened. So the prosecutor begins to dig into your life. And he thinks you're involved with the Chinese spy ring. Totally untrue. All sorts of nonsense. It could be involved with Russian collusion. But in this case, we're talking about just me and you or anyone else on the planet. And it's a Russian spy ring. Okay, completely untrue, of course. But you see, you do order a lot of Chinese food, and you didn't realize it, but that payway that you order from is owned basically by a Beijing-based corporation. And it has ties to their national government. And so the investigators know this because basically they've gone through all of your records, all of your phone conversations, all of your emails, and all of your credit card receipts. And they know basically that you've spent all of this. And so you're now going to have all of your records subpoenaed by this guy who wants you to talk about that acquaintance of yours who you know has done nothing at all. So the prosecutor says, we believe you are an unregistered foreign agent and you're providing assistance to China. Well, you tell the guy to go screw himself because you're a moron. Oop, now you're obstructing justice. Okay? Now you're obstructing justice, and now you face serious legal expenses and potential criminal charges. But the prosecutor tells you, you don't have to worry about any of that if you just turn the dirt out. And that's what's going on exactly with Trump. I mean, look at our justice system. You have these guys like Stroke and Lisa Page and McCabe and all these people who use their authority illegally, without any question of a doubt anymore. Without any question of a doubt. Now, you never hear this on CNN because it doesn't have to do with hating Trump. So this is like a non-entity story for them. They just, horses. This is how we think. This is what we're going to say. You ever notice that, too, that every single news commentator uses the same phrases or catchphrases all of the time? It's like they get together and this is what they do. One of Trump's guys, I forget his name, I think Caputo, something like that. It cost him $125,000. But this is the state of our Justice Department. We have now in solitary confinement Paul Manafort, who's been convicted of nothing. Nothing. He is in solitary confinement in a prison. But you get people like McCabe and Clinton and Stroke. They're walking around free. They laugh at us because just like foreign countries used to think that we were a paper tiger. Now with Trump there, they're not so sure anymore. These people know that the Congress is a paper tiger because what Congress does best is nothing. That's what they specialize in, doing crap and nothing. They could do all sorts of stuff. They're not going to. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to. They're not going to do anything. Well, we're going to impeach Rod Rosenstein. So what? Who gives a crap? You think he gives a crap? Are you going to impeach him? Really? I mean, Rahm Emanuel, our former attorney general, was impeached. What happened to him? Oh, yes, now he runs the city of Chicago. Oh, what a horrible thing after being impeached and all. My, oh my, wasn't that terrible? Unbelievable. What people really do tend to forget quite often is that, Trump doesn't have any allies in media, and he obviously doesn't have any allies in FBI. Or in the intelligence community at all. That's just how it is right now. And when you're dealing with a liar like Obama, things can get, people forget very, very easily. I mean, it's funny that the left will say, well, we're not talking about Obama. Well, why not? Well, that happened years ago. Well, then I guess we should forget about Stormy Daniels, right? Certainly forget about the Confederacy and this flag stuff. That happened a long time ago. Let everyone be, right? No, let's be hypocrites and pick and choose, because that's what we do, and we don't really care. And to you if you think anything otherwise. There's just proof ad infinitum about how corrupt the FBI is in particular. And I'm sure CIA and all those other folks will go right behind it and do that. Here, let's see somebody lie.
Mr. President, when did you first learn that Hillary Clinton used an email system outside the U.S. government for official business while she was Secretary of State?
At the same time, everybody else learned it through news reports.
Speaking out on 60 Minutes about Hillary Clinton's email controversy.
Did you know about Hillary Clinton's use of private email server?
No.
While she was Secretary of State?
No.
And meanwhile, the Obama administration was also featured in the report.
Footnote, page 89, it reads, quote, President Barack Obama, he was one of 13 individuals with whom Clinton had direct contact using her ClintonMail.com account. That information breaks with Obama's initial claims that he learned of Clinton's private email from the media reports. What were they protecting? Remember, they changed that to say, oh, a high-ranking official.
So there you go, liar in chief. He knew about all this stuff. I don't know why one would think that he wouldn't. I learned it when you learned it in the media. When the news report came out, that's when I know. Well, bullshit. He'd been going ahead and corresponding, one of the top 13 people with her on this illegal server. So he knew about that. You know, folks, people think this has to do with Clinton. It doesn't. I think it has to do with Obama. The reason such a big deal is being made is that people do not want the first black president to be convicted of crimes. It doesn't look good, you know. Too black to fail. So, since they do that and feel that way, you get kind of the ability to lie becomes very, very easy. You know, there's all sorts of stuff with Obama that to me is kind of disgusting. And let's see, there's one video here I'm looking for. I can't find it. Let me see. We got that. You didn't build that. We lied about that. I guess not. I guess not. Anyway, what people tend to forget and what people really need to start to realize and know is that the media hurts people. The media really can change people, and you can see that happening on certain college campuses right now. I mean, listen to this. It's unbelievable.
I'm Calvin Phillips with Campus Reform. Today we're in New York City with the 4th of July coming up, talking to college students about whether they're proud to be an American. What will they have to say? Let's find out. Do you consider yourself today proud to be an American?
Oh boy, that's a tough question. No. No, not in the America we have right now. No, I'm not proud. No.
They have it too damn good.
Definitely not.
No, I'm not proud of America. I'm not proud of what we've done.
There you go, the party of hate. Join them, the Democrats. If you hate the United States,
no,
that's the party you'd be in.
Especially, like, recently.
At the end of the day, I guess I would say no.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm proud.
We need to stop thinking that we're the best nation on earth because that's just egotistical and it's not accurate.
We're pretty great.
Sure it is. That's why people come here. They're not going to Guatemala.
Are America, like, I don't want to associate myself with.
Patriotic views about America, when it really comes down to it, I feel like it's more just like a tool to be used to get people to join the army.
And what about America right now would you consider yourself not proud of?
I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious. Just look at the news. There's a plethora of things that are going wrong. Orphan border issues.
Okay. Got it. So were you not proud when Obama did it 5 years ago?
I think that it's different now.
A lot of the not proud of being an American comes from like the history of the U.S.
Any places that come to mind that would be better?
Better than the U.S.? Probably some nice little socialist country in Europe.
If we change presidents, then I would be proud.
And there's an America that we can make that will be great. Yeah. And so I believe.
Are you saying make America great again?
No. That's not what I'm saying.
Everything with the Supreme Court right now is like really scary. I'm scared.
I'm scared.
These are little indoctrinated parents.
Were you concerned
with no
when President
brains.
Obama filled the Supreme Court vacancies in the election year?
No.
In the past, were you proud to be an American, and what made you more proud then?
I guess it was just ignorance. I had no idea how many people in this country were so far right and discriminatory. And
I would first of all reverse everything Trump has done.
Okay.
Every executive action. I'd reverse
Added
everything
jobs.
he's done right now.
Okay. Would that crash the economy though? Things are going
600,000
pretty well
people
right now in
the
the economy.
workforce. This is what you would
Those
reverse.
are like pretty
moron.
longitudinal. I don't think anything beneficial has been his doing at all.
What could be done to make you proud of your country?
I'd like, people to be able to express their identities and be themselves without having to deal with prejudice and.
Go to your mommy's basement
You know,
and
law
lock
for
yourself
that,
in a
though.
closet.
There could be. There are laws that could help with that.
I do consider myself proud to be American, but I'm ashamed of things that, like, our administration has done recently.
Today, would you consider yourself proud to be an American?
Yeah, I would consider myself proud to be an American.
Right now, are you proud to be an American?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always have been. I mean, I have the freedoms and possibilities to do, basically whatever I want. I think it's a really great country.
I kind of wish we could, get along a little bit more instead of becoming polarized on topics. Just being able to talk about them openly is something that I wish would happen more frequently. But I'd say overall, I'm proud, yeah.
And there you have it. The youth of America never had it so good. They're not discriminated against. What kind of discrimination these people come up against? You know what I mean? My heydays was the 60s and 70s. You want to talk about hate and, black folk not allowed into public pools and being shot down with pressure hoses. Those folks had it bad. These guys are jokes, just absolute jokes. The stuff that that particularly that one girl says she would want to reverse everything that Trump has done. Unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Let me just see. I'm kind of pissed that I didn't get this one video in because I think it would explain why maybe Donald Trump is, not that thrilled with the FBI. But I had some issues with finding videos earlier today. It's kind of weird. If anyone knows, you can go ahead and email me at michael@michaelblumshow.com. Why would a folder just disappear from your desktop? And if I go ahead and I do a search for the desktop, it says it's there, but the icon is gone and nothing is there anymore. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, I guess we won't get to that one video, but basically it was a video of Peter Strzok. Let me see if it's here somewhere. You didn't build that. College students. No, I guess it is here, but I don't think I can get it into this software right now because it's not going to find the desktop. But let me just see. We'll add and see what we can do just for a second. Right, just go ahead and bear with me for a moment. Videos. All right, now I'm not going to bother with this now. So anyway, you have to be reminded that Trump has helped this economy. He's added 213,000 jobs in June. Labor Department has upgraded the figures upwards by 37,000. 600,000 Americans re-entered the workforce in June. The economy is good. Wages are rising fast. Everyone on the sidelines wants to get back in the game. A record 155,576,000 Americans were employed in June. This is the most, by the way, in the history of the United States. Pay growth is up every month. Blue-collar working wages are the ones that are growing the fastest. Even disabled Americans are seeing a record job growth. Trade deficit actually just plunged in the most that it has in 10 years. U.S. exports rose to an all-time high. Trump is slowly but surely winning that trade war. Americans spent less on utilities because of the Trump tax cuts, and unemployment in the black community is the lowest it has ever been in the history of this country. So these are the things that they would like to roll back, those socialists, because this is just terrible. Because you see, you can't do anything for yourself. You haven't done anything for yourself. You never do. It's always the government that does that. I mean, taxes, we want your money. We want your money. You don't know what to do with your money. We know better how to spend your money because you've done nothing in your life without the government.
If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Yeah, the help that I got from the government is an unwanted partner. They take 33% of everything I've ever made. That's their accomplishment here. They've never helped me at all. Whatever I've done, I've done. I'm an individual. There are no such things as great committees. There are only great individuals. And that's how it is. Sorry, Mr. Old President, you're done. You're done. You are history. You are old school, and you will never return. So anyway, folks, I'm going to stick to that. This is the Michael Blum Show. Thank you for listening to me, and we'll speak to you next time around. Take care. Have a good week. Oh, and by the way, everything in life is possible. Fewer things are probable. One thing is certain. You're alive. Go out and live life. Because tomorrow's promised to nobody.